So the first thing when you're making a scheduling block is you want to load your configuration file. You're going to have some kind of configuration for the telescope based on the type of observing you want to do. So pages 54 to 70 of the Observer's Guide outline how to create a configuration file. I have an example here, but again, every configuration file is going to be different. You don't want to just take this and copy it, even if it's similar to your observation, because you really need to know what every component is doing. Otherwise, you could be telling this telescope to be in a configuration where you're not going to get any good data. So the example I have here is a configuration definition for multiple spectral line observations using total power switching or position switching. So I called it TP-config, total power configuration, and then every line I have outlined what it is doing. So this specifies the receiver. For each receiver is going to have an ID, like receiver 8 to 10. It stands for 8 to 10 gigahertz. Page 63 is your reference for finding the receiver you want to use for your science. The observation type is the next line. You can observe with spectroscopy. We also have continuum, pulsar, radar, and VLBR. The backend is Vegas. Vegas is again the most common backend. It is probably what you're going to be using. You can see page 63 for all of your options. And then you can specify multiple rest frequencies. So this is the center of what window you're going to be looking at for whatever science you're trying to look at. So you want to count in these rest frequencies for, say, redshift and whatnot. And page 64 for more information on that. The Doppler track frequency, some people don't put this, it's not really always required. Anyway, the Doppler track frequency specifies the rest frequency in megahertz to compute the velocity for Doppler tracking. Again, see page 67. This is the bandwidth, pretty self-explanatory. There are different bandwidths for different backends, so look at page 64 and 130 for details on how to pick your bandwidth. Number of channels, same with it being specific to different bandwidths, see page 130. Switch mode means total power, because we're doing total power switching. Switching type, we are not doing frequency switching, so we're going to say none. Switching period, this is the period in seconds over which a full switching cycle occurs. For frequency switching, that's the period in which you're switching between your frequencies. But in position switching, we're talking about switching the noise calibrator on and off. The total integration time, in this time we're just setting it to the switching period because we're doing total power switching. The velocity frame, this is local standard of rest. The velocity definition, which is radio, setting the noise cal to low. This is standard to keep the noise cal to low. And the polarization, we're doing circular polarization. The GBT can do linear or circular polarization, depending on your receiver. You don't have to load the configuration file where it's all out like this. You can also just do exec file and then specify the path to your TP-config. So you would just have a file with the contents in these quotations here, and that would work as well.